Alright. With that, we can get started. So, tonight what I want to show you all is how you can manage some of your financial stuff using Excel. The idea here is that you can apply your logic for managing your money. You just have a place to centralize and hold how you manage your stuff. So, as I mentioned on Twitter, that the paper registers, they're very frustrating to use. Some of you might not know what I'm talking about either. A paper checkbook register is a little book that you get when you order checks. Most people don't use checks anymore. And the idea is that as you have money go in and out of a debit account or a savings account, that you would record it in the register, and then at the end of the month, you would get a bank statement. And said bank statement would then include all the transactions you have for that month, and there's a little box you check next to each of those transactions to verify it came out. And then you would look at it, and then if something didn't add up or extra money came out, then you would talk to your financial institution and, well, unfortunately have to figure that out. But now that things are available online, it doesn't make a lot of sense to wait a whole month before looking at your finances to make sure everything's okay. So, since paper's a butt, let's see what we can do. So inside of Excel, I'm going to do that guy. I want full screen. Nope. There it is. That's better. Alright, create a new workbook, and it is called Financial Tracking by that little guy up there. Anytime you save your workbook, which I recommend when you start a new one, to always save it somewhere. I already have. Give it a name, and give it a save. Boom. Okay. Now I got that sorted out. Let's talk about how we're going to do what we're going to do. Right? So we want to take a look at a couple of things. We're going to start with looking at a debit account, and then we're also going to set up a tracking for a savings and credit card as well. And you can do that information simply what you will. So we are going to go in cell A1, and we're going to get some headers going here. So we have, get my cursor out of the way. We're going to have our tender, and that's our type of what we're paying with, right? So that could be debit card, it could be check, things like that. And then we have our date of when the transaction happens. And then we have our description of the transaction. Now, I am going to show you how to fix the headers, right? But as it stands right now, C bleeds quite a bit over, right? And I'm going to hit Tab on the keyboard. Tab. Now, right now, that's put what appears to be what I'm going to type next overlapping with C. You can ignore that, because you'll see what happens next. We are going to then track our payments. So that column I put payment, debit, and in parentheses a negative symbol. And then we have tab again. Verified, tab, deposit credit, in parentheses a plus symbol, and then category. Okay, so now that I have all the headers that I'm looking to start us off with here, I am now going to highlight by clicking in A and dragging to the right. I'm then going to click between two of the borders and click twice. That then automatically expands the headers. And now I'm also going to run spell check, because I already know that I don't spell well. So I'm going to go over to review, unspell check. Really? Wow. Yes. I'm amazed. I didn't spell anything wrong. At least not this time. Spell check is just really good because if you ended up sharing any of your workbooks with somebody, it really helps for at least, you know, things to at least look appropriate. At least they'll have an idea of what you're talking about. That to be said, let's move on. We're now going to take these headers and we're going to make a table. So I'm going to highlight the headers by clicking in A1, dragging to the right. And I'm going to drag down. And I'm going to drag down and I'm going to keep holding the drag and I'm going to scoot us off here into outer space a little bit and drag off to about 600 sounds good. I'm going to grab the handle and roll back to the top. Oh, I missed G. Let's try it again. Here. And we'll do 300, that's fine. Alright, scoot back to the top. And then we're going to go to our home ribbon. And we're going to go into the middle approximately and click on the Format as Table button. What this will do is this will open up a menu where we could choose not only the fact that are we making a table, we're also going to choose what the table looks like in our workbook. So, since this is going to be our debit account, I'm going to choose just on a whim the blue, because why not? This dialog pops up and it shows that our table starts in A1 and ends in G300. It's perfectly fine. We're also going to check this box that says my table has headers, because it does. If I didn't type anything in that first column in A1, you wouldn't check that box. And when you would click OK, it would proceed to make a table that would have auto-generated names. It would be column 1, column 2, column 3. It makes them for you. But there's no sense in having the auto-generated names when you already know what you want, right? So we'll click OK. It's going to add some additional formatting. And now we've got a table. So I can scroll here, right? And scoot us down to the bottom by clicking a cell and clicking Control-Shift-Down to hop back to the bottom, right? You can see that our table ends here, right? And there's a little grabby handle. Cool thing about tables is that they auto-expand. So if you manage to enter 300 things in here and reach row 300, right? Excel will just continue to expand out the table. And as you continue to use your workbook and track your financial information, then yeah, you'd want that. The other thing you could do is you could just grab the handle and just keep going and expand it even more, right? Now the table's longer. Easy enough, right? So we're going to shoot back to the top. I'm going to do Control-Shift-Up to jump back to the top. And then we're going to cook some stuff up here. So let's see, we need to be able to keep track of our balance, right? So I'm going to combine some cells here. I'm going to highlight between I1 and J2. And I'm going to click on the Merge and Center. Boom. And this is where we're going to keep track of our balance. Naturally, bigger numbers are easier to read, I find, in my opinion. So, we're going to have ourselves clicked in there on the balance. We're going to bump up that size of that font with the increase button. Okay, so we got that. And I'm also going to do another merge and center, so that we'll be able to put in here our running balance of the amount of money that we know we have available to use, right? So there's two balances we're going to end up working with here. We're going to have the running balance, which will, at any given point in time, whether something's cleared your checkbook or not, show you what you have available in your account to spend, or what's going to be inbound money. And the other one's going to be what the bank displays. They're going to be different, and that's on purpose. So, with that, I'm going to highlight both of these cells. I'm going to go over to our Borders menu. I'm going to turn on all borders, and then come back in here a second time, and click Thick Box Border. So that gives us the border underneath the word balance. It also puts a box around this. Since this header is related to this box, then it makes sense to logically group them. So we've got that in there. And then we're also going to do a couple others here. So I'm going to scoot over here and I'm going to combine these. Merge and center. And we're going to make a padding. That's fine. I'll explain the padding. We'll get there. First, we're going to format our stuff. So when you create something inside of Excel and it's longer than the box you typed, it truncates it. It chops off the beginning and the end. So to fix that, we're going to wrap the text. So above Merge and Center, we'll click Wrap Text. And now it has auto-adjusted it, so it's a little easier to read the whole thing, right? From here, I'm going to do another combination. Merge and Center. For right now, I'm just going to put a 0 in here. We're going to bump that up, make it easy to read. And we're going to do the same thing. Now I'm going to show you the difference between doing one of these commands and both together. So, go back over to borders, and we do all borders, and I click off of this. It's a thin border around everything. With these two selected, and then me going back into the borders menu, thick box border, you now have a nice thick box to outline your area here. I'm also going to put in the bank stuff. So over here, we're going to have our pending money going out, pending money going in, combine these two, and this is going to be the bank displays, and then we'll create another area here, merge and center, and then this we're also going to box up. We'll do all border, thick box border. Okay. I'm going to now save, because we've done some stuff, right? Because saving is important. Boom. Save button. Nailed it. Very good. Okay. So now we're starting to have some of our framework on what's going to happen here. Right? So now that we've got that, we are now going to... I'm going to hide myself here for a minute because we're going to talk about sheet tabs. And I'm in the way. So I'm going to make myself not in the way here. We're going to hide me. Boop. And we are going to talk about... Oh, that's right. That's a per scene thing. Please stand by. Boop. And we're going to go down here to the lower right, or lower left. That's better. Lower left? Oh no, I was right on the first one. That's fine. We'll talk about it from this view. Down here, it's our sheet tab. And with our sheet tab, we're going to name this, I'm going to right click, and hit rename. And then we have our bank's name. In this example, it is the Bank of Furry, or BOF, and it's a debit account, and click enter, and then I'm going to right click and go to tab color. We're going to choose a color for it. Since this is already a blue workbook, I'm going to click on the blue accent to make this a blue tab. As we add the extra tabs, you'll see what why the coloring helps. We are going to back up. Okay. So now that we have this stuff in here, we are also going to let's see here, where am I going with this? We got that. We do need to do that. Okay. Before we start formatting the table, I want to talk a little bit about the views in Excel. As it stands right now, we're looking at what is the default view of Excel. You have one tab and one view of that tab, right? And if I scroll down the page here, it doesn't do us any good because we can't see our balance anymore. So once you get past 39 transactions, and then you scroll a little bit, you won't be able to see your stuff anymore. And that's no good. So, knowing that that's a bit of a troublemaker, we're going to work with screen freezing. What that is clicking and then we're going to freeze part of the workbook view so that we can scroll and not lose the stuff we need to see. So I'm going to click in cell A4. I'm going to go up to the View tab. And then under the Freeze Panes section, I'm going to click on it and then choose the top option. I believe it's the top option, Freeze Panes. Oh, I was one too many. I'm going to unfreeze. I'm going to click in A5 and then go to freeze. There we go. Now it has this bit of a border. I don't know how well that'll show up on stream. It looks like it shows up okay. And I'm scrolling now. And we didn't lose the first 4 rows. So it freezes everything above where you are clicked. I clicked in A5. It froze everything from 4 up. So now, as we enter stuff, you can see the numbers are rolling here. We'll still be able to see our balance and what the bank has. And that's actually, the reason we have this is so it'll be able to balance it. So, now we have that in there. We're going to cook up some formulas. Okay. So the way I want to show this is we're going to have 2 formulas that are going to work together. Or is it 1? Where are my notes? Or no, it is 1. Never mind. I lie! So, we know that if we remove all of the money from our running balance, we add together everything we remove from what we have the balance. We have what's left, right? So, inside of balance, I'm going to click in here, and we're going to build a formula. So we're going to do the equal symbol, and we're going to use the sum function. I'm going to do sum, open a parenthesis, and I'm going to use my mouse. And I'm going to hover over to payment debit until this black facing down arrow appears. Once I have that, I'm going to click. And now it's highlighted in blue. And it says right here, Table 1, Payment Debit. So that is going to sum or add everything that's in the debit, the money coming out. I'm going to do a comma. I'm going to do the same thing over the deposit credits. Now, I'm not going all the way to the top here, mind you. I'm going right to the top of the border and clicking. And you can tell that I got the right stuff because it says right here that we're talking about Table 1 and the credits. I'm going to close that and close my parenthesis. And I'm going to click Enter. And we're going to go back to home. We're going to make that a bigger number so it's easier to read. We're going to bump that guy up. And I'm also going to apply the currency format to this. So I'm going to click on that. I can click on our little dollar symbol. And now we have currently a null balance. There's no data. So when there's a sum of collectively nothing, this is the way Excel shows it when you're working with a currency format. So we're going to enter a little bit of information in here. We're going to say that our initial deposit, so I'm going to abbreviate that as DP. We'll say today's date. I type really fast. Ha! No, I don't. To do what I just did, clicking in the date field, hit Control and semicolon. That inserts today's date. I now then click Tab. And now as you see something here, this is something that's important with Excel and any field that does not show the full length. If you have something that's text, like I showed you earlier with the padding left out of balance, it didn't show the whole thing and it didn't do anything weird, it just didn't show everything we typed. But with anything that's a number, Excel will never show only part of a number. It will show the pound symbol multiple times to let you know that the whole number is not displayed at the current moment. To fix that, I'm going to widen this column by double clicking between the borders, and now it's a width appropriate enough to show the whole date, or in this case, the data, right? We're then going to have the description of the transaction. I'm just going to do start of account open. And we're not subtracting any money because we're opening an account. I'm going to go to the verified column, and right now I'm just going to put a capital Y in there. And we're going to start our account out with $500. Okay, so as it shows, we've now got $500 in our account. And I realize I forgot to make space for the dollar, the values for this. So we're gonna fix this. I'm gonna go back to view. I'm going to unfreeze the panes for a second. And I'm going to highlight both of these and hit Control X. Click in the big cell, Control V. Well, let me do that because they're merged. Oh, it just unmerged them. Alright, that works. And then I'm going to reborder these with the all border and thick box border. And we're going to re-merge in center. And then I'm going to click back and cell A6 and refreeze the panes. There we go. Sorry about that. We need a place to put our numbers. We'll get back to that though. Okay. So we now have the start of our account and it's open. I'm going to, just for aesthetic reasons, I'm going to center our yes and verified by highlighting everything by getting the little arrow. Not the one up here over E, but clicking on just that. And then I'm going to click on the center, which will then push this towards the middle. So why do I have this verified column? What's that for? Verified means that you went into your bank portal and you can see that the transaction's there and it's posted to your account. So that means that what shows up in here has been posted to what the bank displays. So we are going to add a little bit of formatting also to the verified column, because we only want two things to ever show up in here. We want a yes or we want a no, right? So I'm going to put a capital N in there. And we are going to say that I use my debit card, or DC for short. And I stopped and I got a coffee. right? And that was a $2 coffee. So I do a negative symbol, the 2, click tab. And then we now have a running balance of $4.98. Now granted, that is just what you would have available. And we know that when you place a transaction at any given point in time throughout the day, it doesn't immediately post to your bank, right? So N would simply mean it's not showing up online. Well, let's make this a little bit more useful to look at. I'm going to highlight the whole table by getting that small downwards arrow by clicking at A1 and dragging over to category. We're going to go to conditional formatting. What we're going to do is we're going to make it so that if something is not cleared in our banking portal, that it shows up in a different color. And then when we mark it as yes, then the color disappears. So that way we can easily look at what we spent and know whether it showed up in our portal or not. So I'm going to do conditional formatting. We're going to go to manage rules. And we're going to make a new rule. We're going to use a formula to determine which cells to format. Inside the box, we will do an equal symbol. And our verified column, which is what we're looking at, is E, right? We could see that by looking up here, right? It's letter E. So we'll say dollar symbol E1 is equal to inside of quotes. So I'm going to hit shift in the single quote to get a double quote. Capital N. Close it with another double quote. I'm then going to click on format and change my fill. I'm going to just choose a fairly harmless looking color. And I'm going to switch views here. I want to bring this up to make sure this was a little easy to see. So we got dollar symbol, capital E, 1, another equal symbol, and inside of double quotes. They're really hard to see. That's as far in as I can zoom around the end. I'm going to click OK. Now Excel does some goofy stuff here. Even though I selected the whole table, what it applied to changed, right? Or no, excuse me. It didn't change it. I have selected what is currently the entire size of the table. Right? So it's A2 to G310 because I expanded the table by 10 more rows, right? So what I really want this to do is I want this to apply to the whole table regardless of how long it gets. So by doing that, I'm going to clear that out and just do equal to A:(G). Click apply. And when I did that, you'll notice something. Mess with my formula. If I had put the dollar symbols in front of A and G first, it wouldn't have done that. But now that it has, I'm going to click the edit. And then I'm going to fix this by getting rid of those extra numbers and setting it back to E1. I'll click OK and apply. So now, what we did is we said applying to all the cells that are in A across the board to G if cell any of the cells in E, right? And that actually includes the header, but that's okay because if it doesn't start in 1, then it won't highlight correctly. So anything in E starting in 1 down is equal to a capital N, then formatted this color. Click OK. And now we can see that there is a color that's applied to this. Now if I clear that out and I use a lowercase n or an uppercase n, you'll notice something. It still works, even though I put in an uppercase n. Well, think about the Windows operating system. It's known for being a case-insensitive operating system by the way that the system functions. That's not true of everything that works in the operating system. But Excel is one of those examples where a lowercase n and an uppercase n are treated the same way by the way the formulas work. So, now that we have that, if that were to clear in the banking portal, and I would see it on my app, if I switch that to a yes, the coloring goes away. For right now, I'm going to leave it a no. And I'm going to get back to the fact that we only want a Y or an N to appear in column E, right? Well, we can actually force Excel to only give us that option, so we don't accidentally type something in here that we didn't mean to, and then we wouldn't get the right formatting. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to click on column E again, just until you get the black arrow, not going all the way up here. And we're going to go to, I remember where it is. We're going to go to data. We're going to go to data validation. Data validation. So right now, in the data validation window, it's currently set to the default. This is what every cell currently has applied to it without changing anything, and that's any value. Well, we don't want any value. So we're going to switch this from any value to a list. And this is an incredibly short basic list. We're going to make a more complicated one for the category when we get to that point. But this is simply yes or no. So to make this easy on ourselves, we're going to provide our list right in the box that says source. So I'm going to provide a capital Y, a comma, a capital N. And click OK. I gotta remember if that's right. Yes, that is correct. Okay, good. Because the comma was there. So now we have this drop down. And there's only two things in here. Well, you could absolutely click in a cell now that it has the little handle and choose one of the two available options. Or you could just type it. So I could do a capital Y and a capital N or a lowercase n. Ah, look at that! It won't let me now. If I gave it the option of being uppercase or lowercase, that's a way to enforce it. So if I click retry, it's going to tell you, no, you can't have that. So I'm going to clear that out and put a capital N in, a capital Y. And those are the only two things that will let me actually put in there now. I could try to type anything else. I could type yellow. Look at her. And it's going to tell me, you're silly, you can't do that. This is what pops up. So the value entered is not valid. A user has restricted values that can be entered into the cell. I did it for the whole column. So if you click cancel, it just clears out what you type. So I'm going to clear those out. Okay, so now that we know that we can only ever type, I'm going to shoot us back to the top. Grab the handle here. So now that we know we can only ever type those two options in here, right? Let's talk about category. So, you spend your money, your life goes on, right? What if we were to take the extra minute or a couple of seconds when you're typing in this thing to keep track of what these things are, right? The category of a transaction. So, what do we categorize things as? Well, when we spend money, we could make it be on gas for your vehicle, groceries for your house. It could simply be a deposit, or maybe you commission some art, right? Lots of different things. Well, I'd say with the categories column, only put in the stuff that you really feel like you would like to track. You can add categories and you can just decide you don't want to use some, and that's fine. I am going to copy over a list of categories for us to play with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot back down. And we're going to make a new tab. So to make a new tab, we're going to go to the little plus symbol that's down here. Click it, and it makes a new sheet. I'm going to right click on that sheet. I'm going to rename it and just call it categories. And then I'm going to right click on it and choose a tab color, because I can. I can make it a gray. The colors in this case, out of personal preference for me anyway, I like to match the tab color with whatever the color of my table is, so that it's easy to just look at the tabs and know which thing is what. Yeah, you have your description, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of consistency in what you do. So, back over on our categories tab, we are going to make another new table, and we're going to call this categories. I'm going to click in A1, and I'm going to scoot down to, let's say, like 30. Doesn't have to be huge. Go to home. Format as a table. We do have headers. Look okay. Now, something I didn't do on the other screen that we'll do here is we're going to name the table, right? So up when you anywhere clicked inside of a special element in Excel, certain tools and tabs only show up when you're clicked in them. Right now, I am clicked in a table. I'm clicked in cell A7. If I click next in B7, well, the design tab disappeared. And if I want to work on that table, and I don't click somewhere in that table, I'm not going to have that tab. And I'm going to collectively lose my mind as I'm looking, and I'm like, what? What do you mean? I clearly need. I need that menu. Why can't I find that menu? That menu should be here somewhere. There's the reality, folks. It won't show up unless you click it. There's a lot of things that happen like that in Excel, and honestly, it's just to help with clutter, visual clutter on the ribbon. Because if it showed every single tab to configure all the things in Excel, well, this ribbon would be full of stuff. That would just be ridiculous, right? So now that we're clicked in here in our table, I'm going to click on our Design tab. And any of the tabs that are context-based, meaning that you have to be interacting with the thing that you want to edit, they usually show up with a color. In this case, Table Tools shows up in yellow. Table names. Table names are just simply how you reference your table in Excel. In this case, we're looking at the categories table. So I'm just going to call this cat underscore TBL for category table. Now, I'm going to pull over from my list here some categories for us to play with. You can clearly make these whatever you want. And honestly, it is what it is. Whatever you want to track. Another thing too is that when it comes to the list and the way these are displayed, these already are in alphabetical order. I meant to mix them up. If we click on our little button here and click A to Z, they're now in alphabetical order. They were in alphabetical order, but if you type them and they weren't, that alphabetizes them. And you'll see why that makes sense in a minute. So now that we have our table, and we named our table, right? We made it the cat underscore table, or category table. We're going to go back over to our other spreadsheet. Bloop. And I'm going to show you something that purposely doesn't work. There's one more thing we need to do, but I want to show you a little bit of weirdness with Excel here. So I'm going to click on category, and I'm going to go back to data for validation. I'm going to tell it I want a list. And for the source of my list, I want to do that name. Now you would think, since I named that table, and Excel knows the name of the table, that should work. When I click OK, it's not happy with me. And the reason being is that there's a weirdness with the data validation in Excel. I'm going to click cancel there. Even though the table can be referenced in any other cell for all sorts of stuff, when it comes to the data validation, the table needs to be declared as a range of cells. It's confusing, but let me show you what's going on. So I'm going to come back over to the table, the categories table, and I'm going to go to, I believe that lives under formulas. Yes, formulas. There's this thing called the name manager. And click it. And you can see right now that there's two things in here. And these are both things we made. So we have table 1, which is our Bank of Furry debit account that we made. I did not change the name of that table, so it's just the default. And then we have our category table that I did rename, and you can see the name is right here in the name manager. With that, we're going to do a new one. We're going to do new, and we're going to call this the cat table range. What does it refer to? Well, right now it refers to just D14 on this sheet. No good. We want our table. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the little symbol. I'm going to click in on the top of our category, and you can see there's the name of our table, and in square brackets, I'm going to change our view here so I get that a little closer. In square brackets is the word categories. So the way that we're going to refer to the categories we set up is the name of the table, and in brackets, the name of the range. And click that little down arrow, and I'll click OK. Oh, there we go. So now we can see that we have cat underscore TBL underscore range. You can name these whatever you want, whatever makes sense in your head. In my case, this is just what I'm doing, right? And the reason I put range on the name of it is because it's a named range. This is something we manually made that is not linked to something else. And if you take a look here, you can see that a table has the little table-y icon, and a named range has this like suitcase-looking ticket. You can tell that that was manually created. We'll click close. Come back over to our sheet here, and now we're ready. Now we're ready to... Nope. Just a moment. There we go. Now we are ready to use our categories, right? Our list we made. So now we're going to go and click on the top of the column G. We're going to go home. Oh, excuse me. No. Data. Yeah. Data validation. And we're going to choose a list. And the source of our list now that we named a range. Named ranges are fully supported with the data validation. That's what we're going to call on. I'm going to do equal symbol, and we're going to do cat underscore TBL underscore range. Click OK. So now we have our neat little list of all the categories we made. And these are the only things that could show up in here. So now that we have that, we know that the start of our opening of our account was a deposit. Right? So I could type it or I could search for it in the list. It works regardless. Now coffee is a miscellaneous expense, unless you want to track it. Right, so inside of our drop-down, I'm going to scoot on down to miscellaneous and click it. And now it's categorized. So now that we have at least a little bit of a framework set up for what we have here, we're now going to work on the bank displays section that I do not have on screen. Bank display section. So, as it stands, we have two different things we need to get sorted out here. All the money that's coming out and all the money that's going in. So, all the money that's coming out. Yeah, they're just two sum formulas, I thought so. Okay. So, we're going to add up in R2 equal sum, open a parenthesis, and I'm going to click on payment debit, and then I'm going to oh, I'm sorry. It's a sum if. Okay. That's better. So sum if means that it's only going to add our value based on a condition we give it. So our range, and it shows here in this little flyout, is what's required to make the formula that you're talking about to work. So in this case, the range is going to be what we're summing. And in our example, that's going to be debits. I'll do a comma. And the criteria is that the verified column needs to be equal to a, yes, excuse me, double quotes, capital Y. Nope, I messed that up. Sum that based on give me 1 minute. I thought I had a copy of that formula up. I do not. So the range is supposed to be verified first, the criteria, and then what the sum. Okay, alright, I see what I did wrong. This is one of those challenges. Some of the formulas are a little complicated. This one's truly not that bad, I promise. But this also goes to show, I've done it a couple of times. It's a little easy to forget what you're doing. Alright, let's fix this. Wah. Alright, so sum if. The range is the area that we're looking for our criteria. So I was supposed to click on E for the verified column. And the criteria is going to be the capital N in quotes, double quotes, excuse me, comma. And our sum range is what we're summing. And that's going to be our subtractions, or our debits. So now, we're going to also do the same thing for the pending money that's going into the account. So it's going to be very similar. We're going to do a sum if, based on that same column, same formatting. So we're going to look at verified, and then capital Y, comma. Our sum range is going to be our money going in. Close our paren, click enter. And now, we're going to add a little bit of financial formatting to the stuff we're working with on the screen here. So we know that our debits are money. So I can click on the money. And same thing with the deposit credits. Boom, it's money. Same thing for our pending money going in and out. It's also financial data. So now, we could see that we could see I made another mistake. Gotta love it. Since it's already pending and we're only looking for what's pending, that was supposed to be an N in here, not a yes. So it's supposed to be a capital N. Ah, it's better. Okay. So now we can see that what's pending is $2 that won't be subtracted for our running balance, but it's available at the bank. And there's nothing pending going in. Because as we can see, our deposit of $500 is already in our account. So, what should show up in the box for bank displayed is $500, because the bank doesn't know about that $2 that came out yet. So, with that, we are going to add together here. Where is my notes? Let's see here. Okay, that's better. So we're going to put it all together. We're going to do an equal symbol. We're going to take our running balance and we're going to subtract from it our pending credits. We're also going to subtract, or excuse me, those are debits. Take those two. We're also going to add in padding, which I haven't explained yet. I'm going to bump up those numbers a little easier to see that thing. Okay, we've been going a while. We should probably save again. Bam! Excellent. Okay, there's some stuff that goes on. The way this is framed out right now, as money comes out, see I subtract another $4. And the bank doesn't know about it. No, I'm working backwards. As our transactions go in, we can see that our available balance goes down, but the bank balance stays the same. And this is the kind of the electronic version of that check register that I mentioned, right? So as things show up in your bank, you can switch the no for a yes. And all the formulas update. And the balance didn't change because we already knew that that's all of the money we had left. But now that the bank knows about it, this is how you can balance the two. You can take a look at what's in your bank, and you can know what you have that's coming out that the bank doesn't know about. And when you log into your banking portal, like if I logged into my bank now and I started with $500 and they knew about the coffee but they didn't know about the food, then I could look at my bank portal and see that my available balance is $498. I have $494 left to spend, but that's for my reference, not theirs. And that's an easy way to take a look at what you have in your bank and not have to run through all the calculations of what you have left. You can just look at this and go. Now, why do I have this padding thing in here, right? Well, we're not all great at math. I'm not the best at it. And sometimes we make a mistake. Or heaven forbid, we forget about a bill that's supposed to come out, right? So, you can build in some money that sits in your account so that you don't go negative. So say that you wanted to have $100 worth of padding available in your account for mistakes, right? So that $100 worth of padding, I'm not going to enter over here. I'm just going to add it right here. And there's two things that happen from me doing that. The available balance didn't go up, but the bank balance did. Once the money's in your account, then you would know that this is what your balance should look like. But what good does that do you? Well, say that we had a big bill come out, and it was $500. You could see that our available balance is now in the negatives. It's at -$6. But our bank didn't bounce anything. That still went through. You know why? Because the bank thinks and knows that we have $98 left. Since you gave yourself that little bit of padding, you can know that if a mistake comes through, you're not accidentally going to bottom out. Then it comes in handy. Obviously, having the extra money to be able to do any form of padding is based on your financial situation, and whether you can or not. But banks do offer different protections to prevent you from bottoming out. Look at that at your own leisure. I'm not giving any kind of financial advice, just simply showing you a way that you could track your finances. Because paper registers are tough, and this adds a little bit of usability, or I find that it makes it a little easier to keep track of, because all you have then is just a document on your computer that you can use to track multiple accounts. And with the with what we have here, we can go a step further. Right. Like I said in the beginning, we're going to look at debit, credit, and savings. So we're going to speed run this and make the extra tabs. And the cool thing with Excel is that if you have to do multiple things, you can copy sheets, and you could group sheets to do multiple things across multiple sheets. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to hide myself, and we're going to make 2 new tabs. 1, 2. I'm going to drag that back over there. So this one is going to be our big of furry savings. And we'll do our BOF. Now, when I click on a tab here to make it active, you can see there's this green line that shows up underneath what's going on. Right? And that happens regardless of which tab I'm clicked on. But if I want to do something to multiple tabs, I can hold the control key on the keyboard, click on a neighboring tab, and that green line now went all the way across. So now anything I do on this one sheet, say I type a 2, and I break the linkage. There's a 2 now on the credit tab, even though I only typed it once on the savings tab. That's what grouping's for. It allows you to do things on multiple sheets. Now granted, the sheets are very similar to each other, or basically identical is what you need, then that comes in really handy. So now we're going to make 2 more tabs for tracking. So I'm going to come back over to here. I'm going to highlight our headers because we're going to make these the same. No reason to copy them. No reason to type them again. Or I have to group the sheets first. Then click on savings, hold control, click on credit, and then go back. Oh, nope, I can't do that. Okay, that part we have to do twice, which is fine. So we're going to copy our headers by highlighting them, by clicking, and then proceeding to choose copy. I'm going to swing over to the other 2 tabs, and I'm going to right click and paste as values. I'm in the habit of always clearing the active selection, so I like to go back to the tab I was on and click escape. It removes that additional formatting. It's not the end of the world if you don't do it. It's a habit of mine. So now we're going to make these into tables, right? So I'm going to group my sheets together by holding control, clicking on the other one. The line goes across the bottom. And then I'm going to select. I'm going to cruise on down. And then I'm going to... Oh, that's right. Tables are the only thing you can't do that grouping thing for because they generate with names. So actually, I'm going to show you something instead of dragging and running off to infinity there. I'm just going to make a small one. I'll format it as a table. Checking that we do have headers, because we do. And then I'm going to change. I'm going to resize this table. And instead of ending at 11, I'm going to end at 300 and click OK. Boom! It's now a 300 line table. And I can prove that. I can hit Control Shift down, and look at that. The table stopped at 300, just like I asked. Wild, I know. Well, now that this is our table, we're going to I'm going to name it. The savings table. And we're going to come over to here. And we're going to do the same thing. Make her a table. As headers. Resize the table. And this is going to be the credit table. Just going to grab a quick screenshot. And because I like tab colors, I'm going to match my tabs to my table colors. Because I can. Hee hee. Okay. I'm going to check this because I don't think this is an option, is it? No, that kind of stuff. So, like, it looks like any of the table stuff, you can't have sheets grouped together for that. You'll be able to do it for all the other stuff, but we will do these one at a time quickly. So we're going to add our data validation list, and we only want yeses, well, equal symbol, yeses, comma, and no's. Oh wait, no, I lied. Ha! No equal symbol in there. Okay. And then our categories, we'll link those back up. Now the nice thing is that you can make one table of categories and use them across all your sheets. So even though I made that named range, I can use it anywhere. So that at any point I make a change on the categories tab, or say I add another one, right? And we want to track, maybe we want to track that coffee after all. Stuff's pretty expensive. It added coffee to the table. It auto adjusted it, made it a little bit longer. That's what the little lightning bolts are for, because it auto corrected it. If I come back over to here, go to the bottom, there it is. And the reason I mentioned earlier about alphabetizing this stuff, obviously we wouldn't think to look for coffee in the list if it was at the bottom. What good is that doing us? I'm not going to look down there for it. So, if we scoot back to the top of our categories, we can re-alphabetize it. Click the little arrow, A to Z. And now it's back where it belongs alphabetically speaking. So if we swing back over to our savings and now look for our coffee category, it's where we would anticipate to find it. And since we want to actually track that now, I can come back over to here, scroll back up, and choose the coffee category. And would you look at that? Magic! I don't know, it feels like magic to me. Don't mind me. I'm silly. And we're going to do the same thing to these. Rock it out. Bam. Equal symbol. I, comma, nope. Ooh, no, I don't want all the extra characters in there. Okay, now this is where the grouping will come in handy. So I got amount of savings tab, hold control, click the credit tab. And now everything I do on one sheet will happen to the other. So, now we got that. We're gonna cook up our other items here. Got our balance. We're gonna cruise through. We're gonna add the bordering, box it out, bump up the fruit, and then we're gonna run our formula through, and we're gonna sum it. We're gonna sum all of the money going out. There we go. Comma, all the money going in. Close with a set of parens. Slap that financial formatting on there. Oh, that's fine. Not a big deal. Excel's more than happy to remind me that I can't do those at the same time when I'm grouping sheets, which is fine. Got our balance, and then we are going to cook up our bank tracking. So pen on the way out, pending money on the way in. I just noticed I misspelled displays on that other tab. That's fine, we'll fix that with spell check. Oh my god, I did it here too. Why? I cannot for the life of me. Can I really do that? I can. That's amazing. Change. Yes! Please. There we go. That's better. I'm hopeless when it comes to spelling. If anybody's learned anything from watching me, is learn how to spell. Because let me tell you, when you show the whole world, yeah, you can really see real fast how well I don't do it very well. You're gonna love it. Yeah, let's bump that guy up. Alright. Alright, so now we're gonna build our formulas. This is gonna be a sum if again. And we're gonna sum the data, the range being verified. Based on the no means the bank doesn't know about it yet. And the range we're looking at is the money that's going out, because this is the debits. And then we're going to do the same thing with credits. Sum if. Our range we're looking at to see if it's been verified. The criteria is still a no, because it's things that the bank doesn't know about money going in. Credits. And then our bank displays is going to be equal to our balance minus both of these. I clicked on the pending subtraction and addition. Let's see here. We're going to bump up the fruit. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, I'm just going to throw some... That's right, can't do that. Gotta break the grouping. Well, that's fine. It's time to test. We always test our stuff, because the last thing you want to do is start using something and it not work the way you anticipate it, right? So now I'm to the point that I'm ready to make sure that it works. So I'm going to break the grouping. And the way I break the grouping is by just clicking on a different sheet that's not in the group. And then if I look at the savings, I made Excel mad. I'm just going to ride this out and see if it comes back. And if not, that means we lost everything up until I save. Excel is not happy with me. Well, this is one of those times I'd like to remind everyone, save your stuff. Save it often. Because there's a very, very high possibility this isn't going to recover. The grouping, I don't use it very often because Excel could be a bit of a twitchy application. It works really well when you're just after you've built what you want to work with. It's usually just fine to be able to just enter your stuff and for it to do the math in an attempt to make your life easier. This is one of those excellent examples. I simply have a fair amount going on the computer because I'm streaming, and I upset it. So looks like I'm going to have to kill this and reopen my workbook. So you need to look at me while I unbrick myself here. Oh, I need to open up my... Do I need to open that? No, I don't really need to open that. That's fine. Well, I'm now going to take the opportunity here. Whoa! Document recovery! This is the original document. Let's see here. The one as of... That's funny that the auto recover caught right as I created the sheet, one of the next two sheets. Well, that's fine. Let's close that. Auto recover is useful if it does snapshot, because I believe the polling interval of autosave, I think it's every 15 minutes. But that does not autosave your workbook. It's the autosave recovery. And if you look actually at the top of the screen right now, it says version 1 autosaved, which means I'm currently working on a workbook that actually still has yet to be saved. This is the last autosave that Excel used. Those don't always work, or I'm going to say they don't always get captured depending on the way that the crash happens. Sometimes sometimes your stuff comes back, sometimes you lose a whole bunch. In this case, I lost a fair amount of work. So I'm going to resave. And I'm going to be back on the screen here. Let's see here. Okay. Excel. Gonna have some words with you. Well, at least I saved over the debit. Okay, that's better. Alright, speedrun strats. I'm gonna make these tables. I'm going to quietly just make them. One at a time. Ah, yes, paces values. Hang on a minute, I don't want to do that. I want to... paces values. Okay. The nice thing is you can actually copy over chunks of stuff here. The thing with this is that the table, when you copy and you paste, or just do Control C, Control V, it brings over the formulas and it's still talking about the neighboring table on the other tab. So by naming the table something useful, like savings, I can actually just copy the formula. Update it. Oh, one too many. Haha! I copied the typo. Change this. Okay, that's better. Now fix the typo on this one too. Okay, that's fixed. Good. Now we're gonna copy the same thing. Credit tab. And we'll update the same thing. This is something that I actually really enjoy about the newer versions of Excel is you get the coloring. The coloring gives you an excellent split-second look at where you're working. And if for some reason you're not working on the right sheet, as you can clearly see, this is still pointing to the savings table on the other sheet. You can see that you're missing something. You visually see that you're missing something. And the cool thing with this one is that since this was a local formula, and I kept everything exactly where it was positioned, I don't have to actually even touch this one, because it's still the same stuff. You know, there's no references to the sheets up here. It's just the local cells, which actually makes it really nice when copy and paste functions as intended. So before I go any further, I'm going to save again, just in case. Because you witnessed what happened to me. Excel can be rude like that. I wouldn't expect that to be everybody's experience, but I have a lot of stuff open on this computer right now, so that could happen on occasion. So let me finish adding our formatting. Oh, that's not what I meant. Line comma in. No, oh god. Damn it. That's not the right thing. There we go. Alright, so I guess it's a nose. Okay. And just so we can check the math, I'm going to bring over our little bit of test data here. So I pasted his values when I did this. So values doesn't have any formatting on it. So I'm going to tell Excel, we're working with dates, and that we are also working with clicking in that cell. I'm going to hit Control D. Excuse me, hold the Control key. Select both of these columns, tell them it's currency. And also do the same on the other one. Tell Excel, we're working with dates. And then we're going to also highlight both of these. I clicked in the first one, held Control, clicked on the second one, and money. Okay, cool. I'm gonna save again. Bam! You can never save enough, or often enough. Okay. Alright, now that I've ironed out that, let me take a look at my notes here. Oh, that's right, we need to add the screen freezing. So I'm going to click in that cell, cell A5, click on view, we're going to refreeze the panes. So we have that up, nope, my bad. Take two. I'm going to click underneath where our data ends here. And freeze the panes. Okay, go. Gotta do that over here too. View, freeze panes, freeze panes. Okay, I got an extra cell in there. There we go. Okay. Okay. To make this math a little easier to look at, I'm going to make this a super expensive cup of coffee. Make it a $10 cup of coffee. I say that, but then again, I know of coffee places that it's actually close to $10 for their biggest cup of coffee. Don't worry about it. Okay, I want to talk about money going in and out. And I'm going to save again. Boop. Okay. I'm not done yet. I didn't have the coloring. I'm going to center a line, because honestly, I like center a line. Boop. We're also going to add the coloring. So I'm going to highlight everything on the table. We're going to go to conditional formatting, manage rules. That's going to be the same rule for both. Use a formula, and that's going to be equal to $E1 is equal to double quotes N format. We'll choose our, I think it was that one. They don't have to be the same. I kind of like it when they are though. Okay. So I'm going to very strategically remove the extra stuff in here. Nope, it still ends up doing it. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why it messes with it. But I digress. And just for giggles then, because I actually want to try something here, I'm not going to select the table. Our symbol E1 is equal to no, capital no. And we're just going to straight up change this to A to G. Yeah, I don't know, that's weird. You can see part of the reason why I have to fix that is that the coloring's nowhere where it belongs, which is why it's no good with what it does to our stuff here. Messes it all up, doesn't highlight the right stuff. Okay, now that we have our coloring, we're going to test this. So we're going to deposit some money into our account, and we'll say a deposit. $10 more. And deposit. Okay. So that's pending. Oh, I didn't fix the formulas on this one yet. Savings, savings. Yep, that'll explain why that didn't work. And see, I looked in the formula bar and I can clearly see that there's no color. So I'm pointing to the wrong thing. Okay. Now clearly, what I'm showing you has been a lot of work. Make sure I did both. Oh, I didn't do this one either. You might be thinking, well, you lost me probably about an hour ago. And that's fair. Maybe crazy enough to follow this far along in the example. Well, I applaud you. Because it is a lot of work. But the reason it's a lot of work is simply because of, I'm saving again. You're spending time to set yourself up a framework that you can work off of. The cool thing with Excel is that you can build this out any way you want. It doesn't have to be what I'm doing. I'm just simply showing you a way that you can use the program to better manage yourself. Everybody works differently with their own money, and that's perfectly fine. With the way that this is chugging along here, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the money going in and out and the reason why you'd want to do the categories. And then I would have to agree at this point. I've probably bored you far enough. So, as we take a look at our balance here, you're going to notice something that happened that is potentially not good. I added $10, and the bank doesn't know about that $10 yet, right? So I took $10 out for the coffee. Actually, let's make the deposit $50. I'll make the number stand out a little bit more. As it stands right now, we have more in our available balance than we do actually showing up in the bank. Because the way that the math runs on this, that the balance is a running balance of what we give it regardless of its current functioning status. So it's not in the bank, even though it's recorded as being available in the sheet. That is something that could be potentially destructive because you think you have the money when you don't. So I've shown this example to a couple different people, and some don't mind that it shows that the balance that's not in there yet, and they just make a mental note that they don't have that. Or you could change it so that the deposit only shows up in your balance once it's verified and shows up in the bank. Now, personal preference, you could do this either way. But I'm going to show you how you can make it so that that balance of that money going in only updates when it's actually in the bank. Because as it stands right now, we've got an extra $40 we don't have. And then we could potentially spend that, and that wouldn't be any good. All right, so let's fix it. Let's fix it and make it make a little bit more sense to us. So we sum together all of our subtractions and our credits. So what we really need is it to only add the credits that the bank knows about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use this formula we built to our advantage. I'm going to copy this. Copy. And click escape. And click back on our balance. And I'm going to remove that. I'm going to paste the sum if, close my parenthesis, and hit enter. Sum if, oh, excuse me. I need to mark that as yes, not a no. That's better. So, now, we can see that if we add together all the money that comes out, a comma, and then all the money that's gone into the account, once it's been verified, so I switch that N to a yes, a Y, it will now only show us the money that we have available that the bank does know about going in, just not going out. So right now, the bank isn't aware that $10 is coming out and that $50 has gone in, showing that if I logged in the bank portal, I should see I have $450 listed as an available balance. No, I didn't do something right there. Some subtractions with troubleshooting time. That should have only have showed. Right, that's our running balance of 490. No, I did it right. I looked at it wrong. Right, okay. That is correct. So we started with $500. We subtracted the 10 for the coffee. $50 has not hit the bank yet, so we don't want that to reflect in our running balance. Something going on over here. What is that about? If I can clear, this should be $500. That's where my mind got messed up. I built that one incorrectly. That's why. This is one of those times Notepad comes in incredibly handy. Incredibly handy. That's right, because then you have the sun running over. That's better. Okay. I have to fix this on the other sheets too. So, with the running logic, right? The bank only is aware of the stuff that has been verified, right? So we can see pending up here that $10 is coming out, $50 is going in. Neither of them have hit the bank yet. So the bank would still only be aware of the stuff that's in white or verified. So bank balance is at $500, and our running balance is at $490 because we spent 10, and we have 50 that we haven't gotten yet. So what I just did is I summed together the two functions of SUMIF. So SUMIF, savings verified, as being a yes of all the debits, and then a comma, and then all of the credits as well. So now, if we say yes, that $10 comes out of the bank. They are aware of it. If I say yes again, the bank is aware of the money going into the account, and also your available running balance updates as well. So then we will do the same thing on the other sheets. So we can see this, and we're going to copy it. Yeah, we'll fix it. We're gonna fix the example. So we'll keep an eye on the time here. Nope, I had an extra. I was wondering why it didn't light up. Credit, 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 credit. Boom. That's based on no's. That's based on no's. It's based on yeses. I knew going into this that this was going to be a fairly complicated example because I wanted to cover a lot, which is why I've got some mistakes in my notes. No, they're not. There's not mistakes in the notes. It's just I didn't have everything noted as well as I thought I did. So I do apologize for that. It's an easy way for me to put them there. It's good. Now I'm not going to forget about the padding on this one. I only did that to the debit because it's one of those things that there's really unless you wanted to naturally, generally your primary debit account is the one that you would kind of want that extra level of cushiness in case they made a mistake with subtracting money when you shouldn't have. Do a comma, or else you're going to include the padding. Okay, good. So then if there's $10 more in the padding, it's included. And naturally, it's money. Okay. I have to fix the balance on that sheet. Yeah. Making these all the same, so it's nice and easy to double check to make sure I got the math right. Copy that guy there. old age steer. Thank you. Okay. Save that. Very good. Okay. Now that we have our tracking for our debit, savings, and credit, I'm going to talk a little bit about money going in holds. And then we'll talk a little bit about tables as to the reason for our categories, and then we'll open the floor to questions. So, as your money goes in and out, you can ear tag money for later use. What I mean by that is that, say that you get paid bi-weekly, right? You have a job that does that. Paid every 2 weeks. Well, if you know that from your first paycheck, one every month, because if you're bi-weekly, you usually get 2 checks, unless it's a oddball month, which sometimes includes 3, because there's 52 paychecks out of the year when you paid bi-weekly, if I remember correctly. But yes, you know that, say that your internet bill is going to come out, and you want to set that money aside. So you get your paycheck. I'm just going to use some really round, even to use numbers. That's the wrong field. $100 coming in. It's a deposit. And the bank knows about it, so you're good to go. And then you want to ear tag some money, right? So in the tender, I'm going to write hold. And then the date that I want to release the money. So, what I've just done is I've marked some money that we plan on having come out, but it isn't out right now. So then you can note that the money hasn't actually left yet, and that in the future, after you have a couple of more transactions, like we can say here, since I crashed, I don't have my template open. Let me go get that open. Okay, so I put some more data in here for us to play with. And as it stands right now, we'll say now that it's, say today's the 20th now, right? And we want to release that money because we're going to pay our internet bill. Say our internet bill was $100, right? So we'll say that we got paid again the day before. And the dates are just an example, just so we have something in between here. It's a little wider. Yeah, so time went on, you got paid again. Obviously, as your charges would accrue, you'd mark things going in and out, but say that you want to have the internet bill is due later in the month, you're going to get paid again. So let's just push that even further out here, just for my own sanity's sake. So it's later in the month, you got paid again, right? And you want to split up the internet bill between your first paycheck and your second paycheck. Well, if you do a clerical hold, that money doesn't leave your account, you don't accidentally spend it, and then you've been able to account for some of the money, right? So we'll say now that our bill is due on the 30th. And then we could say it's the internet bill. And we know that the bill is $100, right? We could say that it's cleared, right? And that's a, I'll just say miscellaneous for now. And as it stands, that $50 to go towards this bill, you can actually now release back to your book, right? And the easiest way to do that would be to just delete the money you were marking to come out, mark it as a yes, and then that money comes back to you because it's no longer being subtracted, right? So we had 1025, I deleted that, we went back up the $50, and now that money that you just paid for the internet bill, you broke it across 2 checks. So now half of it was paid in the beginning and half of it was paid later. But you set the money aside so that the whole brunt of that bill didn't come out all at once because you ear tagged it. Okay, I'm going to show a little bit about graphing and then we're going to call it done. So the whole point of the categories is to keep track of how you spend your money, right? And what we do with that information, we can have some fun with. So I'm going to select the table. I'm going to go to Insert. And we are going to insert a pivot chart. We're going to make a new worksheet with the whole table selected. Click OK. And then as for the name of the sheet, we will call this BOF BOF's debit summary. Now, since it's a summary tab, I'm not going to color the tab, just simply because it's a summary. And now, pivot tables and charts are used for summarizing the data that you have in your worksheets. In our case, we want to know what we spent our money on over the course of a particular slice of time. So we're going to end up making a pie chart that'll show us where our money went, and a timeline slicer that allows us to see what time frame we're looking at. We'll be able to break it out. So I'm going to click on our chart, and then we're going to build out our filters. So we're going to add in here our date, our category, and then our money going out, our debits for values. That's the layout we're going to have here. Now, I got to change a couple of things because by default this didn't do what you want it to do. For starters, it's the wrong chart, and two, it's counting instead of adding or summing. Right, so here's what we're going to do. Click on the pivot chart, and we're going to swing up to our, let's see, is that under formats or designs? Design, change chart type, that's what we want. We want a pie. Yeah, boom. Okay. Other thing we're going to do is we're going to change our type of field. So we're going to go to our field value settings, and we're going to change it from a count to a sum. And click OK. I'm then going to right click on our table. I'm going to add data labels. And then I'm going to grab our table and make it nice and big. I'm going to click on our amounts there. We're going to bump these up to be a little easier to read. And then we're also going to ignore the blanks. By unchecking them. There's also one more thing we're going to do. We're going to go to, let's see if I remember where this is. Insert a timeline. Select date. We'll say OK. And now we've got all of our tools laid out for us. Now, to be able to showcase this a little bit better, have all the month of May. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate this stuff, and I'm going to change the month. So, logically speaking, this is backwards, because I put May above April here, but for the purpose of the example, it doesn't really matter. The nice thing is that if you accidentally forget something, you can just put it back in here, and you can filter this stuff to look at just what you need if you want to look for something. So if I only wanted to see the stuff in May, regardless of where it shows up in the sheet, I could just do that. Now granted, the scrolling lock is still there, and there's blue over here next to our numbers, which would indicate that there's a filter applied. Same thing with our little cone up here. But I'm going to clear that because we're okay. We're going to come back over to our summary. So I'm going to make a big obvious note here, right in the middle of the screen, to remind us of something incredibly important when working with anything that has to do with pivot charts or pivot tables. And that is to refresh your data. So, as it stands right now, I haven't changed anything on the other tab, right? So all the data that we're looking at is current in this table over here, right? And this chart is generated by what shows up in this table. When you choose chart, it makes the table automatically. That's just the way Excel does Excel. But with our little slice of life up here, this little period slicer, say I only wanted to take a look and see where our money went for the month of May. Well, I'll click on May. Oh, ha! So, as you'll notice something, I said refresh your data. I didn't refresh my data because I just changed it and then came back over here. So, the thing about anything that's pivot related, these do not refresh automatically. This data in the summary only refreshes if you tell it to. So we need to do that. So I'm going to go up to data, refresh all. And now, still have nothing. Why do I have nothing? Oh wait, it's not that I have nothing. I copied exactly everything dollar for dollar. So it's the same data twice. That's a little bit better. Not having exactly the same data for 2 months in a row would, you know, help. Okay. So, our little slice of life now. If we wanted to compare and only see what we spent in April, I could just click on the little slicer in the timeline slicer. Now I'm only looking at transactions that happened in April here in our table. And the colors indicate exactly what money was spent on. And if I click on May, then I'm only looking at what was done in May, which is incredibly helpful. Now the nice thing is that even though the table does change the data as you flip back and forth between the slicer here, it does remember that you don't want to look at the blank cells, and it's fine, it remembers that. So that's not something you have to change, which comes in handy. Okay. I am now to the point that I believe we're done. So it did take a little bit of tinkering to get to this point. But the nice thing is that if you only cared about the summary of your debit account, you can make a sheet just simply for that. If you don't want to track your other items dollar for dollar, you also don't have to. But for revolving accounts that you have money going in and coming out, it does help to have some form of tracking of what's happening in your financial life. Because life goes on every day, and having at least some kind of insight into your own finances, this is just simply one way you can look at what you have and make an informed decision based on what you know, and collating it in a way helps. At this point, I'm opening us up to questions, if there are any. Okay, well with that, since we seem to be on the up and up, and I've bored you all to tears, I'm going to call it here, and I wish you all a pleasant evening.